Good evening everyone and welcome back to Cackling Pumpkins and another Behind the Patch. Here we are talking about Elizabeth Darlington, a character I've had for many years who I wanted to create for a certain horror story that I never did because for one, of my mental health and two, my procrastination, but I'm finally doing it. I'm finally creating Elizabeth's story, and it's gonna take a good while for it to be completed, but I promise it's gonna be one of my better projects. I want it to be as great as it can be, and I want to explain why it's taken so long for Elizabeth to get her own story. But let's go ahead into who this character is. Elizabeth Darlington is a doll maker. She is someone who spends a lot of time inside, she doesn't go out very often. She finds comfort in the dolls that she creates. She is interested in the macabre and the occult, but not necessarily super obsessed with it because, like I said, she spends a lot of time inside. She doesn't really get to practice these interests very often. I can't necessarily go over too much of her story because, well, that would be spoiling what I have planned. Let's just go ahead and say Elizabeth was once an innocent person, but now she's going to be sucked into big old trucks. Look at me, I'm driving a big old truck. I can't go over much because I don't want to spoil her story, but to put things simply, she was a bit more of an innocent character who just had weird interest and can be seen as a little off sometimes, but she really just keeps to herself. She could be a sweetheart, a little bit of a curious cat, if I say so myself, but she ends up getting into a horrifying situation. Can't go into too much detail, once again, because spoilers. I created Elizabeth back in 2017. I actually found the very first sketch of Elizabeth where she looked like a completely different character, but I actually saw an old piece of Elizabeth Darlington inside one of my old sketch pads I was reviewing for one of these kind of videos. Originally she had big white circle eyes, and she was designed to be more atomically correct and scrawny. She was designed to be more human and a bit more on the realistic side, but as you can see now, she's definitely a little more cartoony and on the thicker side as well. And also her eyes are more shaped, I guess more like traditional eyes, but they're also much bigger and they're completely blacked out. Also, originally she didn't have gray skin. I couldn't really decide what to envision her with. Originally I was stuck between stuff like giving her pale white skin and also like very light pale skin. You can actually see some pieces where her skin was pale white. In fact, I commissioned a good friend of mine, Dr. Zeptard, to actually draw Elizabeth in their style, and at that point their skin was pale white also. Obviously the idea was that she was meant to just look like a creepy girl. She takes inspirations from stuff like creepy dolls and the urban legend of black-eyed children. You know, the story of these beings that look like children with solid black eyes. They would occasionally come to your doorstep and ask to come in. Don't let them in though, they might, I don't know, tickle you or something. I found the urban legend to be interesting, so that's why I took inspiration for Elizabeth's appearance. She's meant to look like a general horror character herself, even though she's not necessarily the monster in question. She's more or less the victim. Throughout time, I decided to make her look more doll-like and make some adjustments to make her look more cartoony and thicker out. The reason for this is because I realized that she does accomplish her goal of looking like a standard horror character, but I also thought she looked a little derivative, so that's one of the big reasons I also decided to thick her out a bit. What can I say? On the leg, go bon. Another reason for that is because it might sound a little weird, but for the horror story, this is for that story that's coming, I wanted her to look more vulnerable. That's why she has more doll-like appearances. She looks a lot more innocent, a lot more curious. She's meant to be weirdly cute in some ways, where even though she's clearly meant to be like a darker entity, or she's kind of meant to be horror-esque in her own, she's still meant to be cute. But so I figured like giving her larger proportions would make her like easier to point out. If you're like a horror creature stomping around and you see like this dummy thick girl running around in comparison to the scrawny thing running around, which one are you going to notice first? Probably the larger character. And it's probably the first one they're going to go after first, so that's another reason I also decided to thick her out, to make her look more vulnerable in this situation. Also, it's just a lot more fun to draw bigger legs and wider hips. It's not even just because I find it attractive, it's also just because I find it more fun to draw. She actually went through quite a few changes though. At one point I was going to give her more of like a Tim Burton-esque body type or art style. She was actually going to have like regular pupils, and she was going to be tagged with a book and a worm inside of it that had a pen needle on the top of its head. In this case, I just figured sometimes less is more. She's a very simple character in her appearance, but I think this actually goes into her favor. This design, I think, works for the horror genre, but also makes her look outright adorable. She's kind of a good mix. She doesn't lean towards too creepy, but she doesn't lean towards too cute. She's a healthy balance between the two. I would say she leans a little more towards cute, but I think that helps to her advantage because in her story, she is the victim. She's not the monster. I have decided to also use Elizabeth Darlington for another series that I'm not sure has premiered yet. I'm creating assets for that right now, and this is kind of to make up for the fact that I haven't done much with the character in a while. I'm not sure if that is premiered by the time this video is uploaded. Look, a little bit of a secret. As of right now, I have almost 50 videos sitting in my channel that are scheduled for release. I have enough to last until May, and as of recording this video, I have a bunch of others that are recorded sitting in my computer that need to be edited. Are over almost 40 at this point, so this could be coming out like June, July, I don't know. Oh, and to put things into context, it is February 23rd at 5:27 a.m. So I'm really good at being at a schedule. This is easier than I thought it would be. This is also why I don't really do like really big long videos anymore. It's just more fun for me and it gets me more motivated. I hope people don't mind. You better not mind. I'm having fun. So unfortunately, this one probably would come off as a shorter video, but that's probably for good reason too. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you had a beautiful day, and I hope it gets even more beautiful. Your connection will be strange.